If you think that professional product renders need complex models and hours of work, the product render shown in this video will change your mind. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to create a clean branded USB flash drive render with professional looking metallic textures and lighting that is surprisingly simple. Welcome to part 5 of the Blender product rendering series. Each video is designed to build your skills with fast, practical projects that you can actually use. So open up a new Blender scene and let's build this from scratch. Once you're in Blender, select the camera and the light and delete them. Next, select the cube, press N to open up this side panel over here, and change all of the dimensions to 12 millimeters. Then zoom in and go to the Y value, change that to 14 millimeters, change the Z value to 4.5 millimeters. Next, go into edit mode, select this face here and delete it. Then press Ctrl A and apply the scale. Next, add a bevel modifier. Set the amount to 0.5 millimeters and segments to 5. Next, add a solidify modifier. Change the thickness to 0.4 millimeters and select shade auto smooth for the object. Now we don't want all of the corners to have this bevel on them, so we'll change the limit method to weight and select these 4 edges around the long side of the shape here. Then go up to the side panel here and increase the mean bevel weight to 1. Add in another cube. Then scale this cube all values down to a value of 11.2 millimeters. Change the Y dimension to 14 millimeters and the Z dimension to 1.75 millimeters. Then move this shape down until it goes into the bottom surface of the first shape. If you're zooming in and it starts clipping, go up here to the View tab and change the clip start to a value of 0.1 millimeters. So you can zoom in further and it won't start clipping. Then adjust the object downwards a little bit and move it backwards a little bit as well so that there's a small gap in between the two objects. Next, with the second object still selected, go into edit mode and add 4 loop cuts. Then with these still selected, bevel them. Then add a loop cut along the other way and drag it up to the front a little bit. Then select these faces, extrude them upwards. Select these edges, move them backwards along the Y-axis. Then add in another cube. Scale this cube to 2.5 millimeters. Change the Y to 2 millimeters and the Z to 4 millimeters. And then apply the scale. Move the object up. And move it along the X-axis, negative 3.23 millimeters. Next, add a bevel to this object. Change the segments to 3 and the bevel amount to 0.3 millimeters. Move this object to a new collection called Booleans. Then add in a mirror modifier. And you'll see that nothing happens after we add in the mirror modifier, but that is because the origin of the object is not in the correct place. So right click and select Set Origin to 3D Cursor. And this will mirror the object around the 3D cursor, which is perfectly in the middle of our model. Then add in another cube. Scale this cube to 1.7 millimeters. Change the Y to 1 millimeter and the Z to 2 millimeters. Apply the scale, then move this object upwards so it goes into the top surface, but not all the way through the object. Then change the X to negative 3.23 millimeters and move it along the Y-axis 2.8 millimeters. Then add in a bevel modifier, change the segments to something higher like 3 or 4, change the bevel amount to 0.4 millimeters. Then set the origin to the 3D cursor for this object and add in a mirror modifier. Make sure this object is in the Booleans collection. Then go back to the first object we created and add in a Boolean modifier. Then change the operation type to collection and select the Booleans collection. You won't see anything. That's because the Booleans are active. So go ahead and turn off the Booleans collection with this check mark and you'll see that it cuts through the object. Next, add in another cube, change all of the dimensions to 17 millimeters, then adjust the Y dimension to 35 millimeters and the Z dimension to 9 millimeters. Then move this object back along the Y-axis and go up here, select vertex and activate snapping. Then move this object back along the Y-axis, but hover over the corner of the first object and it will snap to it. Then make sure to turn the snapping off. Then apply the scale for this object. Add a bevel modifier. Change the amount to 1.5 millimeters and the segments to 5. Then shade this object auto smooth. Change the limit method to weight and select the 4 edges here. Increase the mean bevel weight for these. Then move this object along the y-axis so it intersects with the first object a little bit. Go into edit mode, select this face and inset it. Then scale it so it's matching with the first object and it has a little gap in between. Extrude it backwards. Then hide these 2 objects. Go into edit mode of this object, select these 4 edges here. Then go back out of edit mode, unhide all the objects, select only this object, go back into edit mode, and press Ctrl B to bevel the edges we have selected. Then just drag the bevel to match it with the shape of the first object. Now unhide all of the objects, including the Boolean objects. Select all of them. Make sure that the largest shape is the last selected object. Then press Ctrl P and parent all of the other objects to this main object. This will make it so that when you move the largest object, all of the other shapes move along with it. Now that the modeling is completed, set the view to material preview, add in a side panel with a shader editor and a UV map, add a new material for the main object, change the metallic to a value of 1 and the roughness to a value of 0.255. Next, drag in the logo image. I will provide a link to this image where you can download it for free down in the video description. Then preview this image. While in edit mode, select everything, press U to unwrap and project from view. Then rotate it 90 degrees, scale it upwards and position it. And make sure to change the image from repeat to clip so that there's only one logo showing here. Next, add in a mix color node. Use the alpha from the image and plug that into the factor of the mix node. Change the A value to white and then drag it slightly towards the blue a little bit and change the B value to pure white. Then plug this mix node into the base color of the principal BSDF node and preview the principal BSDF node. Then add a bump node coming out of the alpha of the image texture. Adjust the strength and distance to value of 0.1 and select invert. Then plug this bump node into the normal of the principal BSDF. Next, we are going to add a bevel node in the shader editor. You won't see what this node does visually right now, but when we render it in cycles, you will see what it does. Then add a mix color node. Change this to add. Plug the bump into the A socket and the bevel into the B socket. Then preview this add node. Change the samples on the bevel node to 16 and change the radius to a value of 0.0002. Then go back to previewing the main principal BSDF shader. Next, select the first object we created, and we're going to create a basic metallic finish for this object. So create a new material, change the metallic to 1 and the roughness to a value of 0.255. And we also want to add a bevel to this object. So add the bevel node, change the samples to 16 and the radius to 0.0001. And plug this bevel node into the normal of the principal BSDF. Next, select this inside object here, add a new material, change this to a blue color, change the roughness to a value of 0.37. Then go into edit mode and select these faces here on the top. Press Ctrl and the plus key, and this will select the nearest faces. With these faces selected, go up here where it says slot 1, press the plus button and press assign. Then go over here to the drop down and change this to the metallic material we just created. Now the materials are done. Go ahead and add an empty sphere. Scale this sphere down. Then add a camera. Clear the location and rotation of this camera and move it upwards along the Z-axis. Then scale it downwards so it's not so big in the viewport. Change the focal length to a value of 85 millimeters. Change the resolution to a square aspect ratio. Then parent the camera to the empty. Go into the camera view. drag the USB shape to center it in the camera. Then with the camera selected, rotate it along the x-axis 75 degrees, then along the z-axis 45 degrees. Rotate the USB shape 35 degrees along the x-axis, and move the empty downwards a little bit and just center the USB in the camera. Change over to the rendered view, change the render engine to cycles, GPU compute, decrease the samples, and make sure to go under the film panel and enable transparent. Then in the shader editor, change this from object to world, decrease the background strength to 0, go up here, change this view to the 3D viewport, then go into rendered view, go into camera view, and this will be the preview panel for when we add lighting. Then in your main view, change this to the basic shaded view, add in an area light, rotate this area light along the x-axis 90 degrees, then set the pivot point to the 3D origin, move this light along the y-axis outwards a little bit, rotate this light along the z-axis negative 100 degrees, change the power to 1 watt, change the shape from square to rectangle, adjust the x scale to 50 millimeters and the y scale to 400 millimeters. This will give the object a nice backlighting and really highlight the edges of the object. Duplicate this light and in top view mode, rotate it around about 120 degrees. Move it outwards, change the power to 0.2 watts. Rotate it along the x-axis a little bit so it's pointing downwards at the object a little bit. Then duplicate this light, clear the location and rotation, change the scale of this light to 100 by 100 millimeters. Move it upwards along the z-axis, rotate it along the x-axis a little bit, and then rotate it along the z-axis so it lights the object from an angle a little bit. Then add in a plane, move this plane downwards. This will add bounce lighting to the object. Then with the plane selected, go down here and into the visibility tab, disable the camera visibility. Next, you'll see that there's some dark highlights here, and that's because the world is totally dark. So duplicate the main plane we just added, rotate it 90 degrees along the y-axis, and then move it along the x-axis backwards until it takes away the full darkness of this highlight on the edge here. Next, change this from the 3D viewport to the compositor. Add in a viewer node, add in an alpha overnode, plug the image into the bottom socket of this alpha overnode, change the value of the white color to 17, then go up here, press this arrow, and change this to camera. That will make the compositor active in the 3D viewport. Then for rendering, if you are using a resolution of 1080 by 1080 pixels, I recommend changing this value to 200% and change these samples to something higher than 100, something like 512 would be fine. And then render your image. And there's your final result. You can always go back and change the background color in the compositor nodes and save your image with whatever background you like. I hope that this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it or learned something from it, please like the video and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss future videos.